Welcome everyone. I'm Muckaluk. Joining with me today is Lorenity, who is waving, and Noxxi, who's also waving. Possibly, we'll never know because Noxxi doesn't want to use the camera. The little green gremlin above the buff bar is Noxxi. So we are going to be talking about the final patch and also the conclusion of Janthier Wilds. Spoiler warning. Spoilers may abound. There will probably be lots of them. So we are going to be talking about all that good stuff. Now, I am taking on the role of someone who enjoyed the expansion. Lorenity, of course, absolutely hated everything about it, despised it, and she gets out of hand sometimes, so Noxxi's here as like kind of a referee. So that's what we're doing. Also, cute cat.
Dark Laura, that's what this is.
Laura After Dark, that's right. So, first off, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Yeah, I'm doing well as well. It's been drops week as well, right? The Twitch show's been going on. So I'm sure it's the same for you two. Just lots of Guild Wars 2 streaming.
Mm-hmm.
It's been fun though. Been having a good time. Been playing the patch a lot. I was supposed to get my Switch 2 today, but then it got lost in the mail, so that was less fun, I guess. But apart from that, I'm doing quite well. What about you? How are you doing, Milk?
I am doing good. Like you, I have been streaming a lot of Guild Wars 2 because business is booming. So we have been doing a whole lot of that until at least end of day Sunday for no real reason. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff with Guild Wars 2. Their marketing team is making an effort. They apparently had a commercial at Summer Games Fest today, I was told by other people.
Did they?
And their expansions are on sale. You should totally use the referral links of someone in this call if you're going to buy some. And I think they're on sale on Steam and Epic and also standalone if anyone's interested in that. Big value. But yeah, so talking about the story. Now, quick background here. I have played Guild Wars 1, but for me, Guild Wars 2 was the crazy addictive game. Guild Wars 1 was just kind of a fun game I played through one time. Well, actually twice at this point because I played the Laura's Return to Guild Wars 1 recently. But I just played through the story until I was done with it and then I put it down. So there are some things that I never saw, such as the Foundry, which Laura recently was freaking out about. And I was like, what is she talking about? Because that was in a mission that had nothing to do with the main story quest of Guild Wars 1. So, when it comes to Guild Wars 1, Noxxi and Laura are both my senpais. They know far more than I do about it, and I will have to defer to whatever they say. Guild Wars 2, I can chime in a little bit more. But, so first, we got the story here. We got the latest expansion. Or not expansion, but we got the latest drop of content for Janthier Wilds, the fourth and final drop, which had Bava Nisos. We were following the trail of Mabon, trying to stop the Titan threat, and all this good stuff. So first, just a very general question, and we'll start with Laura. What did you think about it in general?
About the whole patch as a whole, I guess?
The story chunk. Let's focus on story.
The story specifically. I think for me, I was really into the story as I was playing it. We talked about the previous patch quite a bit before, right? We talked about repentance and now absolution.
Yeah, you
I was very
hated that
excited
one
to sort
too.
of see. Yeah, no, I really liked repentance. Actually, there were a lot of like Guild Wars 1 references and cool Mersat stuff and everything. And like sort of some big mystery that I was getting really excited about, like who made these titans and stuff. So I was playing for the patch and I was really quite enjoying myself. I was just, yeah, I was liking all the stuff with the Mersat and the titans and the cool reveals and stuff. But the one thing that I did feel was that like I felt like there was this amazing build-up and I was really, really into it. But then I do think that I was kind of expecting like a big epic boss battle at the end, you know, sort of the big epic conclusion, the epic cutscene that's kind of like blows my mind and then like gets me really excited for the next expansion. And that part I felt was missing a bit. So for me, I think the patch story was like something that I thought was really high quality and something I was really into. I just kind of wish there was like more of it. I kind of wish that there was that big epic sort of like cherry on top, you know, like it's like I had a cake and I really enjoyed the cake. But I was like, oh, but I kind of wanted the cherries as well.
Now if you hadn't yet played the content that we just played, and you were guessing what that big epic boss battle was going to be, what were you thinking? Like another Titan, like Ura, or like something else entirely?
Well, I've been on a big, I guess, like conspiracy theory for the past year or so. like not to get into the lore too much, but like my whole theory was that like Menzies was the one making the Titans. Menzies is the evil half brother of Balthazar, who's been we've never encountered Menzies, but like he's been mentioned throughout the franchise, sort of like very rarely.
Yeah, I know almost nothing about him.
Yeah, because again, there's not even much to know about him. He's kind of like this enigma, this like mystery inside of the story. So I was like, oh, that would be so cool if that's like the big reveal, and then we go to the Foundry, and then we encounter Menzies, right? So I was sitting here and I was getting so hyped, and then right before, this is a spoiler, but right before we went into the Foundry, this group of like shadow creatures shows up, and like Waiting Sora goes like, "They're shadow creatures." So I was like losing my mind. I was like, holy shit, my conspiracy theory, it was real, because the one thing we know about Menzies is that he's called an army called the Shadow Army, and these were very clearly like Menzies minions, and they showed up right at the end before we went in there. So I was like, oh, we're gonna go into the Foundry, and then Menzies is gonna be there. So I was getting really hyped up. And then we went to the Foundry, and then Menzies wasn't there. so I was kind of missing that big epic reveal boss battle a little bit.
So to verify, you're talking about the part where Livia tried to use the Staff of Ore, and it didn't work, right? They were like, use the staff, and she's like, I'm trying, it won't work.
I'm actually not. I'm talking about like right before we went into the portal. There's like one part where like these like creatures come out of the portal, and there's a bit of a battle in front of the portal. And again, I think that if you're playing through that and you're just like, oh yeah, some creatures coming out of the portal, and you just kind of don't think about it. But again, as like me being like on this conspiracy theory, I was like sitting here like, holy shit, oh my god, it's the Shadow Army. It was Menzies all along. Whoa! And then I was like, we're going into the Foundry, it's happening. And then it didn't. So that was a bit sad. However, I still think I'm onto something, because they clearly showed these shadow creatures, right? So I think Menzies will maybe show up in the next expansion. I think that would make a little sense, right? That this is sort of a Maltese, like the lore nerds are like, whoa, Menzies, whoa.
You think it might be a breadcrumb they might build on?
Exactly. In the same way that they showed the Eye of Janfir in the final Soto patch, right? But
we're going to talk about that. Give me time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But I thought that, like they gave us like a breadcrumb. Like, I was sitting here like, oh, this would be so cool. And then like Menzies reveals himself, and then you hear the voice, and then it's like, you get really hyped. You're like, the next expansion, we're gonna fight Menzies. But they didn't really do that. So it's like they gave us a little breadcrumb, but I kind of wanted a big epic moment and a big epic cliffhanger, So to me, I really enjoyed the story, and I was really into all the speculation and the stuff with the Titans. I was like having a blast, and I was playing it, and I was like, I think this is one of the best story patches I've played. But then it felt really anticlimactic at the end. I was having a really good time, but I kind of wish there would have been one more epic moment, reveal, boss battle, like War Eternal, end of season 4. There was this epic boss battle. That's kind of what I was missing. So in my opinion, the story wasn't bad quality by any means, because I really liked it, but I would just like to see more of it. I'd have just liked to see one big epic moment, and so I think that sort of affected people's response to the patch a bit, because it felt a bit anticlimactic. It was cool, but we kind of missed the epic boss battle.
Noxxi, do you kind of agree with that view of it?
Yeah.
The expansion kind of felt like the story of the expansion was okay, but it felt like it was missing something?
Yeah, quality-wise, to me, it was pretty alright. I don't think it was really, like sort of bad. It did a little bit fell flat for me at the end, a little bit, because I too was kind of expecting maybe, a bit of a reveal for Menzies or something, because I had the same thing at the end when I seen the shadow creatures. I was like, oh, okay, that's where we are going. At least I was glad that we could actually see the Foundry, which we seen in the trailers too, or the teasers. I'm actually very happy about that. However, the very end was a little bit, I don't know, a slight disappointment for me, because
underwhelming.
Yeah, very underwhelming, because we went over, we found the, again, spoilers for others, the three Titans ghosts or whatever, and it's like, oh, big talk, and they just die in like 5 seconds, and phew, we did it. Go back.
Yeah,
Good job.
we hit
And
them
I'm
with
like,
their
okay.
Horcruxes.
The other thing I don't understand, which just bringing it up, how is it that Mobon is there as like a spirit, which is, I understand how the mists work because I'm very into the mist things, but to me it's a bit weird that nobody questions if it's Mobon or not. Like, how is it that he just pops up, but nobody questions if it's him or not? Like, everything is all right. They
I
like bring
did
up the
Sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
no, it's just like that they bring up that he keeps talking about the scepter, this scepter, that it has to be sacrificed, whatnot, and then they they just give him the scepter or what. In the end, I was kind of a little bit confused, and then he just stays on that side and then like closes the door, and I'm like, what? Why? Like, he then later talks that like we like didn't even really needed the scepter exactly, or something. I'm a little bit confused about that the anti-close gating that we just gave him effectively the scepter, and it's gone,
So
and nobody questions it.
my understanding of, because I kind of liked well, I say excuse, but the storytelling choice that they did with Mabon's ghost being there was they said that while he was alive, he had linked his life force to use it as a battery to like keep that place as it was. So when he died, because of that link, it kind of anchored his spirit there, and so like a part of him was remained there because of the the connection he had made between him and it. And honestly, with all the fantasy stuff I've seen in the past from various genres and books and games, I thought that was a really fair excuse. Like, okay, he connected his soul to this thing to use himself as a battery, but that also meant he couldn't go to the other side, heaven or whatever is in the afterlife for Mersat, because he had tied himself to this thing. And so I was totally accepting of that. But I do like the theory you just teased there, that like, okay, we saw something that looks like Mabon come out of a portal, but who really knows? Especially since we're making a new backpack out of a demon right now. It could be anything. I didn't know anything about Menzies. I did think that when they dropped the lore bit of that the three people had become the three Titans, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, that was the biggest jaw drop moment for me in the patch, hands down. Like, in terms of story, that was really cool. I did find it good. Like, in the trailer for the Foundry, they did this cutscene transition where it looked like a ton of people on sky scales flew through the portal, like a whole army went in there. But then you just kind of go in there alone and you break 3 Voldemort Horcruxes in front of them, and they're like, you suck, and then you leave. And I was just like, that's it? Like, I was definitely a little underwhelmed too that was all we did in there.
I think it's because it's such a cool setting, right? Like the Foundry, it's like from Guild Wars 1, and like it looks really cool. I think that they made it really feel like the Foundry from Guild Wars 1 as well. So it was really epic going in there. So I was just having such a good time. And then again, I also liked the moment you talked about with the Titans, the sort of that reveal. I also really liked I liked Mabon being back. I was kind of happy. Like they'd been talking about him so much and like his memories. I was like, oh, we get to talk to him a little bit. So again, I was so into it. But then there was this moment where we beat like those 3. And then I was like, now there's going to be the boss fight. And then we were leaving. And I remember just sitting there and being like, no, let me stay. I don't want to leave yet. I want to like go kill something cool. So I think it was a bit of whiplash there.
Oh, also.
Because it was like so epic. And then it just ended fast. So yeah, again, for me, it's really, I just wanted more of it.
Yeah.
I just wanted like it to keep going and have some cool bulls. That's what I wanted.
So to one thing, Noxxi was saying that there was some confusion there. Now, I don't know for 100% that I was reading it into it right, but my understanding was like Mabon's connection to that thing, because of the connection he had made between his spirit and that thing, is if the door was closed, he had to be on the other side, or he would get like severed. So he had to be on that side. So he could only close the door from that side. He couldn't close the door from our side because of that. And then he needed an object of stupid amount of power to be able to do it. And the only thing that met that criteria, those qualifications, was the Scepter of Ore. So he's like, you got to give me that, and I got to use it from this side, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but I was like, it's, how convenient.
Yeah. And then he said, and then, they said that they can't just leave the door open because for whatever reason, the Foundry would just churn out more Titans if we left that gate open. I don't know if the big Titan that is in Bava-Nisos, or that is Bava-Nisos, I'm not sure the right phrasing for it, but I don't know if with the portal closed, if that thing can wake back up again. Like, obviously, in terms of the meta, we'll just keep doing it as much as we want, but in terms of the lore, I don't know if that thing is supposed to get back up again in time, or if it's cut off from the foundry, so now it stays down. I don't know. Do you guys?
Yeah, my understanding, or at least the way I interpreted it, I guess, was that it was sort of like, I guess, like siphoning energy through this mist portal, right? Like infinite energy coming in through this portal, basically. So my understanding was very much like, now that the portal's closed, like now it's gone, right? It won't be back. It's dead. It's very much what I thought about it, at least.
Noxxi, anything to add?
For me, actually, one thing was very exciting though to say. Actually, two things that is kind of interesting. The first thing was that it was cool to see the other side of Door of Komali, effectively, because the Foundry has that, the big yellow bubble that we could see. In the first teaser, when we first seen that, or in the second one, I can't remember, I was immediately jumping up like, no way, that's that. But I really question, why does it keep having that spiraling thing up to the sky? Like, does it mean it's active? Does it mean it does something? Because we don't really know. The second thing that I find very funny is that I don't know what the Titan called, the entire Bava-Nisos, but it has a voice actor.
When
What
did
is
it
the only-
talk?
I don't think I heard it talk, did I?
Does it talk? Because I don't remember if it talks. Does it talk?
Yeah.
In chats,
I
you guys can
didn't
yell at us
remember
if we
that.
missed something. I don't immediately remember a time when it talked.
Because
No,
I don't
same.
remember either, and I was playing with voice and every audio on very loud, and I never heard it apart from the growls, of course.
Yeah, one chatter said
Right,
it
maybe
growls.
that's what it
Yeah,
is
maybe,
then.
maybe it's just some guy growling in the voice box.
Yeah, just like wah, wah.
Let's see. Elsenlock says it does a roar at the end of the meta. Maybe it's just the guy screaming.
Right.
All
That might
right.
be what it is.
Okay, so let's rip the band-aid off right now. One of the big things that's bouncing around the subreddit and like Twitter, specifically Noxxi's Twitter, Noxxi's made some excellent memes on this topic, is what is the deal with the Eye of Janther? Now, let's start with Noxxi. Noxxi, what do you know about the Eye of Janther? Like, just in anything.
Honestly, at this point, it's kind of weird because we never really knew what it was. Like, it is an entity, an artifact, an item. Is it a spell, like a magic or whatever? Honestly, I still don't know. There is no clear explanation for it. I think the old Guild Wars on Wiki says it's like an entity, but nobody really knows who created it. We knew that the Mersat used it. Apart from that, I'm still interested in it. That's why I'm a little bit wanted to know or wanted to see it during the expansion, but then that never really happened.
Now we see it in like just knowing what I know I've seen it in multiple raids, and we saw it at the end of Soto. And just because of the name Eye of Janther, I always kind of thought it was like Eye of Zaitan, where some entity was looking through it to view what we were doing. I never really thought that the Eye of Janther was itself an entity. I thought it was like a looking glass, like a crystal ball type thing. What does that sound right to you, or do you think I was just way off?
Honestly, there is, well, like I said, there is no clear explanation for it or what it is. But the old Guilds from Wikis mentioned, I'm not sure if it's still the same thing, but it mentioned that it was an entity. But nobody knows truly because it was never explained. But it is used for observation, and it has its own thing with the chosen one and such for the Mersat. But the only thing I can say is that there was actually one interesting thing that I think someone mentioned already. It was that maybe Mobon was using it because Mobon mentions that. I think he mentions that he's seen us fighting Epoch, and the only the eye was there during the fight.
Okay.
Whoa, I hadn't thought about that. That could be super cool. Yeah, I think the thing with the eye is like, it's been this mystery ever since the first game, right? Like, it's this mysterious floaty eye, and it's being used by things, but we don't really know what it is. And then they kind of used it like that a bit in like season 3 and the raids. At the end of season 3, they used the eye. So it's always kind of been this mystery. We know it's like a bit Mersat's related, but we don't know too much about it exactly. And I think, if this expansion being Jennifer was, I think a lot of people were like, wow, this expansion is where we'll finally figure out what the Eye of Jennifer is, right? And then I guess we kind of didn't. Honestly, I kind of liked that we didn't, because I kind of like it as a mystery, Like,
Yeah,
I
kind of
understand
same.
though. It's been like 20 years since Guild Wars 1. I understand that some people are like, well, I've had enough of this mystery. I want to know what this thing is, but I kind of like that it remains a bit of an enigma. It's like the mysterious Eye of Jennifer. But I totally understand that there's people who are like, yo, just tell me what the heck this eye is. It's been 20 years. I totally get that too.
I see the picture.
Yeah, I was showing off the one of the memes you made. Okay. Well, so I expected to leave this call knowing more about the Eye of Janthir than I did when I went into it, but I'm gonna be honest, I didn't learn much.
Sorry.
How dare you not have all the answers? Dang it.
At least it didn't had a primer's finishing, to it, I guess.
Okay, based on y'all's knowledge of the Guild Wars universe, us finding those white mantle spirits, they were apparently fueling one Titan each, and we went in there with an old object that they owned, their wallet, their house keys, whatever, and just waved it in their face, then blasted them with the Heart of the Obscure. Did you find that to be an acceptable method of us killing them? That, to me, that felt like the most made up BS. I was like, what? Like, they're not liches. They didn't have their souls bound to their old wallets. So I was really flabbergasted that was the solution to take these down. Also, the fact that when we were fighting them, they waited patiently in line and did it one by one. The other two would always just like stare at us.
Yeah.
So
I think just in general, this is kind of a new Titan thing in a way. Because in the past, we've known that the Titans are sort of made of these tormented spirits.
Yeah.
Like that's something they've mentioned all the way back in Guild Wars 1. Right? Like there's sort of these tormented spirits, and then they're forged into a Titan. But that's kind of where the whole lore kind of ended. It's like, oh, tormented spirits, they become a Titan. So this whole thing about the spirit still being around, and then you can take them down, all of that was pretty new. So yeah, I think you could say it's a bit made up for convenient plot device, I guess. I didn't mind it too much though. I thought it was kind of cool, after the reveal, seeing them again, and then blasting them. But yeah, so I didn't care too much about I was kind of into the whole thing. Yeah, you gotta find a memento so you can sort of pull them back. I was pretty okay with that. For me, I think it was more the fact that like you said, they kind of waited on the line. It just wasn't a very epic fight, I would have liked for it to be an epic boss battle or something, and it wasn't really that.
Yeah,
but lore-wise, it was like, oh, this is new, but it's fine with me. It's kind of how I felt
as a fantasy genre nerd, I do think I love the idea of, because I always thought of the Titans as Earth elementals. I didn't know about the souls thing that you mentioned. I kind of like the idea that in the Foundry, each Titan basically has a soul there that's acting like a battery, and that if we can get to them and take them out, we'd stop that Titan from being respawned anymore. That's kind of a cool storytelling device. I'm down for that. I just thought me running in there with, their personal effects and then blasting them with the Soto heart for some reason, which, is it had not come up at all until that moment. Or just hey, ooga booga booga, blam, and then, shoot them with the other thing. And it's that's the solution? I didn't care for that. That's just my personal taste, I didn't really care for that. Noxxi, do you have anything to add on that subject?
I actually find it really weird because in Guild Wars 1 that was never a thing, and I don't know why only those three had this weird ghost stuck there and they could even talk and remember who they are or who they were. And because technically a Titan is an amalgamation of twisted souls. They are more souls stuck to it. They're basically Gorseval in some sense, just naturally in a way. I actually don't even know why Gorseval is not a Titan in a way, but I guess because maybe that was artificially made or something. I don't know.
Do you think it could maybe be the Gorseval and I forget the name of the new Gorseval, but the other one. Do you think it's possible that they're a failure? They're the result of when they try to make a Titan, but something just doesn't work?
I wonder if that could be from the other white. No, because
Les Stallion.
because Because they basically mentioned that there were some other white mantle later on too, because we can see that they were trying to make camps, but I don't know if it was just the three white mantle trying to make a camp or something, because that's a little bit big for three people, but I don't know honestly. So I don't know if it was previous people who died there who just turned into that thing. And the, being inside a Titan, technically, Bavanissus now, or Savus, or what its name is. I wonder if it's because of that. Because it's like Titan made or something. Because if you look at the other so-called Titans inside Bavanissus, they are just technically a immune system, which is kind of cool to me actually. That they are not Titans; they are just a part of a Titan, looking like a Titan.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. At the same time, I thought it was weird. Like, this thing is dead, and I'm doing air quotes, and it's been dead so long, it's like fused with the city and the architecture there. There's like buildings like growing through its body and stuff, or his body is fused with the buildings that were already there. I guess I don't know which way to say it. But at the same time, it's alive enough that it's like organs are pumping and it's got these immune systems running around. And I'm just like, dude, make up your mind. Are you dead or not? I wasn't sure. And also, I was going to ask you guys what you thought about the Lestallion, but you telling me about how the souls were twisted into Titans actually makes his existence there make a little more sense. Because as someone who primarily just knows Guild Wars 2, and has even done Guild Wars 2 raids, which many players have not, when I saw him there, I was just like, are they out of ideas? Are they out of budget? Why did they just copy this guy from the raid wing? I have no idea why this guy's here. And that was it. It was confusion. Now, he does mention, I believe he has a voice line where he says something like, I'm free, the crystal cracked, or something like that, which would signify, I guess, the souls were trapped in a crystal there somewhere. Maybe we did something when we were breaking in and he, like, oozed out. But it makes a little more sense that there's tormented souls there after what you guys just told me.
Yeah, I think there was actually a line about, I think I've only heard this once, but I remember hearing it and being like, oh, I think there was a line about the Bloodstone Keystone, which is kind of fascinating in and of itself. But, there's these Bloodstones, and like the White Mantle, they've been sacrificing people on top of these Bloodstones.
Right.
The Keystone is like one specific Bloodstone, one specific shard of the original, I guess. So the way I read it was like, oh, I guess they've got a Bloodstone around here in Bavanissos, and all these people got sacrificed. And again, the lore for Gorseval was kind of like, there's all these like twisted spirits, and they can't move on, and then they sort of formed into Gorseval. So to me, I was like, oh, that makes sense, right? Like, it's the same as in the raid. In the raid, there were all these innocent people being sacrificed. And then, like, the spirits couldn't move on and became a Gorseval. So it was like, oh, that's also what happened here. But it's interesting how similar it is, right? It's interesting how, like, the way I see it is that Gorseval / this one, I don't remember the name, but my sort of interpretation is that these are sort of, like, almost like naturally occurring ones. There's a lot of like twisted, tormented spirits, and then they form a Gorseval creature. And that the Titans are specifically like forged, right? The Titans are specifically like made. There's a forge, like somebody has this forge, and then they use a bunch of magic stuff, and then they twist the spirits into a Titan. So I guess the difference between like, I don't know, if you're going skiing on a natural mountain, or if you're going skiing in the hall, like one occurred naturally and the other didn't. That was a terrible analogy.
That was pretty awful, yes.
It's also honestly why Titans are kind of scary in lore, because they are highly adaptive to the environment. That's why Savus turns into technically entire Bavanissus, because it had nowhere to go. It just adapted so much that it turned into Bavanissus, sort of.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was so cool as well, because I guess this is going away from the story a little bit, but I really thought that this map was going to be Mistborn Barrens Part 2. Because originally, when this expansion was first announced, they said that there was going to be one map in the patches split in 2 parts.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went like, well, actually, we've decided to like do these 2 halves as separate maps, right? Like, they sort of like changed the plan. So I was very much thinking that it would be like Mistborn Barrens Part 1 and Mistborn Barrens Part 2, right? Because originally, at some point during development, it was going to be one map. So I was kind of positively surprised that it felt so different. And I thought the whole concept of like being in this mountain and then you're sort of inside of this titan, I thought that was incredibly cool.
You know,
So for me, like that was
on that subject, if you look at the map right now, Laura, for Bavanisos and Mistborn Barrens, and look at like that one waypoint that you start out in Bavanisos, there's like a chunk above it and below it that are still empty. There's room for a tunnel.
oh my god.
I would say something, but because it involves map breaking, I don't think I should talk about it. But
I would enjoy.
No, I know what you're hinting
Phase
at.
2.
Let's not talk about stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not.
By the way, Laura, just asking you because you might have more thing about it. What do you think about the, like, okay, how to bring it up? So, at the start of the story, they brought up that these titans that we met, you know, Decima, Greer, they are kind of sucking on these bloodstone stuff. Where did that entire idea go? Like, what was up with that? Why were they after the bloodstone and then not doing anything with it at all? I don't understand that part of the entire story. It made
You
no
mean like
sense to
just
me.
in base Jennifer Waltz then, right? I guess like not in the patches, but just like in the base Jennifer Waltz release.
Well, sort of, because like the Titans have nothing to do with the Bloodstones. Like, why were they after the Bloodstone at all? And I don't understand that part of the entire story of this expansion.
The way I interpreted it is that it's just magic, right? It's just like raw power inside of the Bloodstone, and like you take and you get stronger. But yeah, I guess you can totally say that. Like, why exactly did they do that? Did they need more power? Couldn't they just get out of the mist gates? You know? I don't know. To me, it felt like, I guess, like convenience writing. Like, oh, there's Bloodstones. They gotta go out there and get some magic. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You're totally right that specific thing didn't go too far, I suppose.
Yeah, it was kind of random to me.
Yeah.
I see Mock has IT tech issues again.
No, it's okay. I tried to resize something. I broke everything. I fixed it. We're good. Okay, so let's see. I think the only other story note before we move on to something not story related that I had written down, unless I'll give you guys a chance to like bring up your own topics if you want. Did you guys see the thing with Ellen, Keel, and Logan at the end?
Oh yes, that was so
yeah.
funny.
Oh my god.
And
It's
so at the end, for anyone who didn't see it, because we're past spoiler warnings at this point. There's a meeting, and there's an achievement called Introvert where you just pet the cat and leave, and there's an achievement to talk to all 32 people there. If you talk to all 32 people there, you see something happen. If you talk to the queen, she's like, "Oh my God, Logan's here! Oh, let me freshen up. Anise, how do I look?" And she's like, "You're flushing quite well, Your Majesty." And it was cute. Okay, so she has she wants to look good in front of Logan, right? That's made abundantly clear if it wasn't already in the past. Then you go to Ellen, and she's like, "Oh, Logan's here?" And she's like, "Let me go talk to him." And she walks up, and her character goes like, "Wave," and then her character goes off and goes up to a door and despawns, presumably goes into the room. And you talk to Logan, and you do his talk and exhaust his dialogue, and then he walks away and goes into the same room and locks the door behind him. Now, I don't know the layout of that building. I don't know if that was a rear exit to the place or what, but it's a very moment. Next X-Pac teaser.
You know,
yeah, the queen burns down Divinity's
Logan
Reach.
in this. You know what? I'm happy for him. Like, for so many years, Logan has like chased after Queen Jenna. You know, and it has never gone anywhere. Like, he needs to move on. Like, it's not gonna happen. Like Jenna is just like keeping, keeping him, like, I guess, like, what's the right word? Keeping him on the hook,
length?
I guess. Yeah, but then also
it seemed like they always liked each other. But...
Like, you know what? Logan needs to move on. You go, Logan. Find somebody who appreciates you. Hell yeah.
Oh, okay. So that was funny. Okay. Did you guys have any other story-related notes that you wanted to bring up?
I liked once again the little notes everywhere. That was a big
Oh
thing
yeah.
for me in Repentance. I like what they've started to doing with story setting, where they put like the little notes everywhere, and then like the lore nerds, we can like dive into that. You know, and all the people who don't care, they just move on. Maybe if they want to do a collection, they press F and they move on, right? But like for me, as somebody who really likes the story and the lore, it's just fun like going around and finding every little note and then trying to piece the story together. So that
Now,
was cool.
most of the notes were from the Three White Mantle people in this one, right?
Yeah.
There were also ones from the like there was two at least. I don't know where was it exactly because there were a few books in this update too. That was from two of the old what are they called? Forgotten, right? In the old Guild Wars mission where you have to capture and fight them as bosses. I don't know which one is called Eleanor Reach or the other one. One of the three missions around the Augury Rock, where you have to fight almost like a PvP team kind of thing. And and it was so cool to read their names. I'm like, I remember that name. I remember the name from Guild of Sun. I was so hyped for that. That was nice.
Okay, see, I didn't even pick up on that one, so that's cool.
Yeah, just like those little like thingies that make the lore nerds happy. There was a bunch of that. I do think though that, you know, overall for me the story was something I quite enjoyed. I also really think it's interesting where the story is going. But my main piece of feedback, I guess we've already talked about it, but my main piece of feedback is I think especially now that we're sort of waiting till October till the next expansion, I think I would have liked to see sort of a cliffhanger, you know? I think I would have liked to see sort of this this big epic tease and then like I can't wait for the expansion to come out, you know? But they sort of pretty neatly wrapped everything up, and I was pretty happy with how they wrapped most things up. But I think especially if you're gonna like, I think it's currently in the vault like 140 days or something till the expansion comes out.
Yeah, and it definitely feels like it could be about anything. We could be going to the
Yeah.
Tengu homeland. We could be going to the Mist. Like we could be punching Cormier in the face. I have no idea.
It's kind of up in the air, and part of me respects that they're sort of like not trying to cliffhanger you into the next season, but I don't know. I think a lot of people kind of like cliffhangers. So yeah, my main piece of feedback really is I would like to see sort of a cliffhanger into whatever comes next to get people excited. And yeah, we've already talked about this, but I would have liked to see a cool epic boss fight in the Foundry.
Menzies.
Menzies.
You
but
said
apart from
Menzies
that,
is like a relative of Balthazar's, right? So that'd basically be like
Half-brother.
us going to fight a god, not really prepared for that, right? I can't imagine that would go well. But yeah, I don't know. The commander's punching way above their pay grade at this point.
I envisioned this. Yeah, like so the way I envisioned this is you go in there and then like suddenly like Menzies shows up and like you have to like run away or something. You know, you have to like run away to the mist gate and you're like, oh my god, what is this thing? And then you close the gate, but you know there's something out there. You know, so something like that, like sort of a epic tease for like what's coming next. I thought it was sad that they didn't go for something like that, but at the same time, I did enjoy every second I played of the story.
You know,
I just thought it was very enjoyable.
I did think about one more sort of story related thing. It's a different story. Have either of you? I don't know if you're going to or not. Have either of you started the legendary backpack Orax?
Not yet, but I have my friend on it.
Okay.
Yesterday night.
Okay, so Noxxi, not yet. Laura, did you do the thing that's like the story chunk?
I did, yeah.
Okay, I thought that was really cool. For those
Me
that
too.
haven't, basically there's this one wizard guy and he's playing with a radio and he accidentally phones up Satan, aka Orax, and Orax is like, yo, let me into your world. And the guy's like, what? That couldn't be a bad idea at all, sure. Also, the commander's here. You want to talk to him? And he's like, oh, the commander. Yeah, I want to talk to the commander. And then so you start talking to this demon on the other end of the phone. And the demon wants to chat with you. And when you ask the demon their name, they're like, oh, well, our names get longer as we get older to show off our achievements. And then he just starts, and he just blah, and it's just this massive thing. However, there's probably more lore in there that I didn't pick up on. But one of the things I did see was Sealer of Ippos. Now, for those who don't know, there is a legendary in the game, Generation 2 legendary, called The Binding of Hippos. And it is a book, and while you have it unsheathed, your left arm of your character gets like really large and dark and void-like and gets like claws. You get like a demon left arm. And do you have that legendary by chance, Laura?
I do
Binding
not
of
have
Hippos.
Hippos.
Okay,
I
if
do.
you, so
Super
I
cool,
did,
though.
and I'm pretty sure I got special dialogue because of it. So the
Really?
thing, the Orax was like, I want to come to Earth, but I don't want to do it the way Hippos did. They're stupid. They're dumb for getting all tied up like that. I don't want to be bound like that. We can work out a different deal. And they're like, I need to find them. I wonder how they're doing these days. And I had an option that said, I have it on good authority that they're doing okay. Because
Whoa,
they're in
I
my
did
back
not
pocket.
get that. That's so cool.
Additionally,
I thought that was so
I
cool.
heard from other people that when I first saw Lextalion, there's a line that I'm sure both of you heard. Your character says it's just like Gorseval, and from what I understand, people that have not cleared the raid, they don't have that line. And I thought that was a nice touch as well, because I haven't seen them do that for like a few seasons. Like I remember when they brought back Living World Season 1. And I was fighting Scarlet Briar in the Tower of Nightmares, I think it was. Or I was fighting something in the Tower of Nightmares. I think it was Scarlet. And she referenced the Infinity Ball that my Asura chose as their first invention at level 1. And I was like, what? I had almost forgotten about that. And it's been so long since I fought something in the game that referenced like a past achievement that I made that not necessarily every player would have made. It was such a small thing. I thought that was really cool. Because I saw it twice in this patch.
There was also this moment at the start where you had to like choose whether you wanted to side with Livia or not. And then there was like the text on the screen like, the characters will remember this or something like that. And I remember seeing them being like, wow, is this like a Telltale game now? Like, like, are they gonna be angry about this later or something? And then I think there was like one voice line later where they sort of mentioned that again. Because I thought that was cool as well. So
yeah, being
Illusion
Guild
and
Wars
also
2.
the whole Epos thing is so cool, right? Because like Epos is kind of this like mysterious thing. We don't know much about it, and it makes everything feel interconnected when they do little references like that.
Right, but now we know that Ipos apparently voluntarily got sealed up. Like, it basically went to Orax and said, yo, I want to visit Tyria, seal me up so they don't have throw a fit, and then throw me over there. And then we ended up with it as a legendary focus. But anyway, yeah, I thought that was really neat. I'm still working on it. Like, I think at this point, I've gotten all of the story out of it that I'm going to get, but I've just got the collections to do and stuff like that. All right, so you guys mentioned you kind of wish that the expansion ended with more of a bang, bigger fight scene at the end. I feel that way about the meta. The meta, not bad. Not hating on it.
Yeah.
Totally don't mind it. However, the hardest part is the first fight. Well, not the first fight. First, you defend Livia for like a minute. Then you fight Lextalion. And Lextalion has... I've just started telling people, look, you have to bring CC. When you see his cast bar, he's casting, you all die now. You got to interrupt that, or we all die now. It's that simple. And people have kind of started understanding it. But it's like, he's the only threat. And then, like, you beat him, you split up, you go down 3 lanes. And I kid you not, when I finish a lane, I have to click the treasure chest on the bottom right of my screen to see if one of them says meta event ended, because I can't tell if it's over yet. Because I don't know if it's simply my lanes ended and the other lanes are still going, or if I'm the last lane and we're done. And I've had so many times people are like, is that it? Like, and they can't tell. What do you guys think?
Personally, look for the red schools at the end if they are done with the lanes. Because it shows the bosses. That's it for me. If I'm in like middle lane or something.
Yeah.
I actually like the meta.
I do too. I just wish there was something bigger at the end of it. Like, I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm just used to like, Dragon Stand where the lanes then converge back together and there's a big thing at the end. This felt like 80% of Dragon Stand without the end.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I feel like it would have felt better if they just would have taken the boss and put it at the end instead. Like, you do all the lanes and then you fight the big boss. It feels like it's a reverse meta a little bit, doesn't it? And So yeah, I remember fighting the Gorsefall like boss and then being like, "Whoa, this is just at the start. I wonder what kind of boss to have at the end." And yeah, it's kind of the same thing, I guess.
You sound like
I
Rose when
thought,
he was like, "Oh, I can't wait to see what the Zaitan fight's gonna be like. They've been playing this up for so long. It's gonna be amazing."
yeah. I also I'm totally with Noxxi. I like the meta. I think it's a like I actually really like that fight against the Gorsefall like creature. Because like you actually have to CC and like it's very clear feedback, right? So like everybody's kind of like I also think that people have gotten way better at it now. Like most maps I go on, like people actually manage to do it now. So I think that's actually a really fun boss fight, and I like the parts where you get on all the mounts and you gotta like break through and stuff, and you split up. And then I think the middle lane is very fun. Because you've got like you gotta kill these nodules and there's these oozes. The other two lanes are less fun because you
Yeah.
just kind of hit stuff and you
You
keep getting
find those
knocked
stupid
off.
zits that keep kicking you off the
Yeah.
cliff. Dude, yeah,
The lungs.
after visiting all 3 lanes for the achievement and seeing them all, I go middle every time.
Yeah, same.
I have to say that on the sidelines, like north and south, I kind of like one thing in it that the longs have different phases and at least they don't just respawn the same boss. Like the first one, you get the boss, the second
Right.
one, you have to do something else, and then you have a secure the area around it, and then you can continue. Like it's not just like, oh yeah, spawn again, boss, spawn again, boss, spawn again, because, good job, guys, go on. Like it kind of always a different thing, sort of. Not RNG, but it's always a different thing.
The one thing about the map as a whole that I wish was different, and I'm curious what you guys think about this, is I kind of like it when the NPCs make me feel like, I'm part of the world, not just the guy carrying everything on his back. So, like, for example, if you've got a quest and the NPC is like, hey, we have to go get these 2 things. Which one do you want to get? I'll go get the other. And then you go get one of them and you come back and they're like, all right, you got yours. Here's the one that I got. Basically, they've been doing something while you've been gone. That's what I want to hear is you haven't all just been standing here while I've been doing everything. That's what I want them to tell me. And in this map, oh my God, dude, all of the little NPCs for the different events around the map, they're just standing there the whole time. And one's like, okay, take this lotion, rub it on the door, circular motions. When I was a kid, I scraped my knee. And I'm like swarmed by titans. And I'm like, I'm busy. And they're like, also, it's delicious. Don't ask me how I know that. And I'm like, and then like there's the part where you're like in the stomach or whatever, and you're fighting the stomach acid, and the bear and the Canthan lady are like, yeah, keep up the good work. You're like melting in acid, and they're like, so are you single? And they're just flirting the whole time. And look, like I'm like okay, I appreciate finding love under pressure, but could you please help? And they're like, no, man, we set up the boxes. You're on your own for that. You could literally die with 10 titans on you right in front of them, and they're not even swinging with those weak NPC attack. And I was, oh my God, I was a little irked about that. Also, side note, that one thing in the north lane where it's like the mirrors, I hate that thing. It takes too long.
Yeah. It's
I
kind of
skipped
weird.
that after doing it once.
Oh,
An
by the way,
achievement for like getting 4 of them, and it's really hard. Supposedly, it's very difficult to get that.
Yeah, I
achievement.
tried. By the way, jumping puzzle, I love it. It's very old school.
Yeah.
It's high. I love it. I love it so much. It's very simple, but it's very fun.
It was good. Yeah,
I think
enjoyed
it's
that
the
one
best jumping puzzle since EOD. I really like it. Yeah, that was fun. I agree with you on the meta though. Again, I think it's one of those things where I'm having a cake and I really like the cake, but it's just kind of missing the thing at the end, Or again, maybe if they would have done it in a slightly different order and put the boss at the end instead, maybe then it would have felt better. But I like what's there. I do like. There was also like new music for like the final phase, which I really liked. It was cool.
Yeah, it might have
That
been
was-
cool, just expanding upon what you just said. Like, maybe while you're attacking the organs, you accidentally break a crystal. Or like when an organ ruptures, it destroys a nearby crystal, and then he comes out of that. And then, he has that line about the crystal was broken, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That might have been cool. Yeah, and then, somehow and then maybe whichever 2 lanes finished first get like just like a portal that pops over to the 3rd lane that's fighting it. I think that would be good.
Yeah, because it does feel a little bit like it feels a bit like Dragon's Stand, but then there's a boss at the start and there's no boss at the end. That's kind of what it feels
Yeah,
like.
that's
Yeah.
yeah. It's kind of like a reverse meta. I don't know, a bit weird.
All right. And then let's see. I think the only other thing I wrote down was like the convergence. Have you tried the Ura convergence?
No.
Yeah,
I did, yeah.
So just like most of the others where they took a raid boss and made it a convergence, they simplified it a bit because you can't expect 50 people to be so organized. And they took out a couple of the mechanics for Ura. And the end result is she's kind of just a big target dummy now. You go in there and it's like I think she's now, even though she was the final boss of the raid, I think she's the easiest convert. I think they got to give her something back because she's literally you just like auto attack her. It's not even much. There's not even much red circle bad. It's just hit her till the health goes to 0. I feel like they need to give her something back because I almost feel bad for her right now. I'm just like, man, she has no self-defense. Yeah, she still jumps around and you just follow her, and she occasionally bubbles people, but you don't have to like pick up the thingy and use it to free them from the bubble. It's like she bubbles them, and after a second they fall back down. But it's literally everybody, you just zergs her. That's it.
Yeah.
So, I feel like poor Ura.
There is a thing with like I did the challenge modes a little bit, which I actually quite enjoyed. The challenge mode, like if you want to get gold, you gotta like kill the boss quite fast. That actually felt reasonably challenging. I thought that was pretty cool. And like also there was something with having to stand behind Ura because otherwise you'd get doubled and stuff, but I didn't really figure that out. There was just people in my chat being like, yeah, there's a mechanic you gotta do. So I feel like there might be more to it than we realize, but that's only really relevant if you're trying to get gold on the challenge mode, I think.
Yeah, like, I think the thing you were mentioning is when she does the bubble, she like leans forward and it hits anyone in the cone in front of her. So I think the reason that they were saying stand behind her is just to try to dodge the bubbles.
I think so. I definitely want to go back and do the challenge modes a bit. It did actually feel reasonably challenging, but I agree. Out of the mechanic ones, I do think Ura is definitely the simplest for sure. I agree.
All right.
Oh, there is actually one other thing about the patch that I think we should talk about.
Yeah.
Not sure if you want to talk about the convergence more though, Noxxi, before we talk about that.
I haven't done them since Greer.
Oh, that's all good. I want to talk about my absolute favorite thing of this patch, which is all the QOL changes.
Oh, thank God! I thought you were going to mention Bram in some fashion. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's do QOL me
for 5 seconds at the end.
Oh God,
this is my favorite part.
Yeah, he was. I think his himbo beard has gotten worse. Okay,
I was
QOL.
so happy
What's up?
Because for me, the hugest one is that they made the Rift currency an actual currency. Before, like, you would do Rifts, and you would get all this essence, and it would just fill your bank. I had, like, 2 bank taps just filled with Rift essence.
Oh,
because
wow.
you can refine it into
amalgamated,
like the stuff you can stack, but then you gotta use Ectos, and it's really expensive, and it also feels bad to throw it away because you need a lot of it for certain legendaries. So I literally, because I didn't do the Soda armor, but I've been doing Rift since Soda. I literally had like 2 full bank taps that were just like essence.
Whenever I would have it spill out of my material storage, I would just make it amalgamated. So I wasn't doing what you were doing.
That was expensive though. Like to make an amalgamated, you needed to also use Ectos and stuff as well.
I felt it was the price I was paying to free up bag slots, so I was just like, okay.
I will be very honest about that. Like, I don't want to sound ungrateful that they did that change, but that should have been the thing from the start. I'm happy that they did it regardless still. Like, better later than never. But I feel like they should have really thought about that because you need ridiculous amount of that even for the legendary armor.
Tens of thousands for the obsidian.
It's ridiculous.
I agree.
I mean, they kind of just did that. Isn't one of the new map currencies in Bavanisos, isn't it like it won't go in your map storage, but you feel like it should?
The MRSA thingy, because you can't deposit it anyway. It's not a collectible or anything. It just sits in your inventory.
Yeah. So they did just kind of do that. I thought about let's rant. I thought about something else. Okay, so they did a thing in Soto where if let's say you were just playing the story, okay, you're just doing the story in order, and then suddenly you're in Eparch's throne room, And you're like, how the hell did I get here? Because you were supposed to do the meta right before that step.
Oh, yes.
But you had no idea about that. And a lot of
that
people
was so
complained
stupid.
about how jarring that was and confusing that was. And so they went back and on the story step before that, they added a bonus objective of go do the meta so that you at least had some inkling that they kind of wanted you to do that at that point in time. And I was like, good, they learned. Good for you, ArenaNet. No, they didn't. They didn't learn because they just did it again. Because I played through the story, and then I got to that meeting at the end, and they're like, we have killed 4 Titans. I'm like, we've killed 3 Titans. They're like, yes, we killed 3, and then we killed a 4th. And I'm like, no, wait, what? When did we kill a 4th? Who was it? Was Joko secretly a Titan? Who are we talking about right now? And I was so confused, and some people in chat were like, I think you were supposed to do the meta. And I was just like, oh my god, here we go again. So I'm angry at them about that. It's like, you just learned this lesson, and then they made the same mistake. They need to have some kind of indicator there. Meta go here for story to make sense. Okay, rant's over.
Well, I mean, they...
Oh, you go ahead, sorry.
No.
They also did it with the Wizard's Tower in base Soto. There was like a moment where I was like, now optional objective, go do the Wizard's Tower meta because it takes place here in the story. Or you could just do events or something, I think. Part of me wonders if like, there was quite a little feedback in the last expansion about filling up the event bars, right?
The green bars,
Part of me wonders, yeah, like part of me wonders if like they sort of took that as like, oh, we shouldn't do this anymore. But I guess like Arena, we don't like the filling the bars with events, but we do like the optional do the meta here. That's pretty cool. But yeah, I totally agree. They should have done the same thing.
Yeah,
because they literally did it, like you said, yeah.
Yeah, I got no problem with the meta being like a crucial component of the story that they just turn into a big fun event. I just want to know where it goes.
Yeah.
You know, because otherwise, again, you get that jarring moment where it's like, what are you all talking about? Or how did I get here? Or what year is it? And you're just suddenly in a room and it doesn't make any sense. So, okay. That was something else that I was like, in the middle of it.
Yeah. I think I got pretty lucky there because I had already done the meta before I even went there. But yeah, 100% agree. Is there anything else we need to talk about? Well, there was like the portal scrolls and stuff. Like more QOL stuff, right? Like you can now get the Wizard's Portal Tome. I thought that was awesome.
And the Gobbler. There's the Portal Tome of Portal Tomes, and there's the Gobbler of Gobblers. There was the new the new Fractal! The new Fractal.
Oh, I actually like that. Yes.
Kinfall.
Yeah, that was...
I actually enjoy it.
I did too. I think that is not going to end up being one of those ones where people skip when it's the daily, which I think is really good. Like there's definitely a balance between, because like whenever I was like, what is it, like Lonely Tower, I'll be like, oh yeah, Lonely Tower is kind of a pain. I get so many comments where I do Lonely Tower every day. Well, good for you, but some of us just find it to be a pain because pugs frequently fail at doing Lonely Tower challenge mode, and people often want to do it on challenge mode. Kinfall, I think it was pretty straightforward. You're not going to get lost. It was not so challenging that I think pugs are going to struggle with it, but it was challenging enough that you needed to keep your eyes open. And I really liked the mechanic at the end with the ground explosion / air explosion thing. I thought that was cool, and I've been told by others that is frequently in some of the Final Fantasy games. I don't know if I know you play some of those, Laura. I don't know if you've seen that. It was new for me. I thought it was really neat. Also, there was some juicy lore in that Fractal. Did you pick up on that?
So cool. Because for those of you that haven't played the Fractal yet, it's effectively about the Kodan encountering Dromak. And I like that a lot because it makes the worlds feel bigger, right? Like we've encountered the Kodan, we've encountered Jormak, but like it makes sense that those would exist together as well when we aren't there, right? So I thought it was cool, like seeing that encounter. I also liked there were some little Easter eggs, kinda. They mentioned that there was like one of the bears that had died before the Fractal.
Did you know who it was?
Bear, yeah, that was actually that was Pokey's mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the whole thing in the story, right? About about how
it
were
was
grieving her and stuff.
Stoic Alder's wife / Pokey's mom. And the voice, which was presumably Jormag, who was like hissing at them and stuff like that, it's like, you know, he was saying awful things like, you know, she died screaming and she wouldn't want this, blah, blah, blah. And then one of the bears, which you're taking the role of, so you don't know who the bear actually is. One of the bears is like, you know, you keep her name out of your mouth. You know, it was like Will Smith and it was going to go up there and slap him and stuff like that. And you know, my first thought was that one of us, the players, was playing young Stoic Alder. Now, I don't know that for sure, but my first thought, because I was like, who is going to get the biggest emotional response from someone saying, yo, yeah, I'm going to tease you about this lady's death? And I was thinking her husband. Now, that it could have been someone else. It could have been just like a bear from the village that was close to her or something like that. But my first thought was that we were playing like a group of bears that had Stoic Alder in it, and they were younger, and they went to the place where she died, and they were taking down the creature that killed her. Now, there's a lot of me guessing in that. I might be way off, but that was how I read the story.
Yeah, same for me. I quite enjoyed that. And also just like it was cool like hearing Jormag again, right? Like we've kind of been done with this whole dragon thing for a couple years now. It was cool, I guess, like getting to experience a dragon thing again for the first time in a couple of years. The way I felt about the fractal, I feel like there's very much been sort of, I guess, like two approaches to fractals. Of course, it's not that simple, but you've kind of got the boss fractals and you've kind of got the old school fractals. And recently they've been doing a lot of like boss fractals. And this fractal to me felt a lot like those old ones, like the ones at launch. It felt a lot like something like volcanic fractal. Pretty fast, not super difficult. You kind of go through it. And I think that a lot of people really wanted that. Like for me, I actually quite like a lot of the boss fractals. So like I think for me, it didn't hit as hard as like some of like Sunqua, for example. But I also like variety. You know, it's kind of cool getting a fractal like this again for the first time in a while. That just kind of feels like a dungeon. And I thought the final boss was pretty cool. Fun mechanics, in my opinion. I'm excited to see what the challenge modes will be on this. Like, is it gonna be? Are they gonna supercharge the boss or something? Yeah, just because.
One of my guesses on that the challenge mode thing is like, you know, the whole like purposefully get knocked into the air to avoid the ground shockwave and avoid the knock into the air to avoid the air shockwave. I'm guessing those are going to be much more lethal because as someone who has joined that fractal on normal mode as a healer, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, people, the DPS is just like ping, 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 getting knocked around like pinballs. I just keep healing them and it's fine. But you know, if they ramp up the damage on that and people are having to do it, like, I'm hoping that is a minimum of what they do in the CM. Okay, sorry, I cut in. Please continue. Please continue.
No, that's all good. But yeah, I'm excited to see what the challenge modes will be like. To me, the fractal is pretty cool. I enjoyed playing it. I think it's also good to just have, because they've been doing, I guess, like a lot of hard fractals, right? They've been doing a lot of fractals that people have found pretty challenging. But fractals are also like a daily repeatable activity. Not everybody always wants to do like a really challenging fractal experience. Like, you know how you get kind of happy when you get chaos in your dailies? You're like, oh yeah, that's fast and easy. I think like it's cool to have a fractal just kind of fast and easy.
One. Just
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I feel like the what is it? Sunqua, Silent Surf, and Lonely Tower. If you're in a group that's like, hey, look, we're gonna do the dailies, we're gonna do you know, CMs. I feel like half the time that I join, they'll want it when they say the CMs, they wanted to do like Nightmare and Shattered Observatory, and then they kind of stop there, you know. And it's like the ones that I do go to Sunqua with, if like we're not used to grouping with one another, sometimes it works out great and sometimes not. But my point is, it ain't 100%. But all the other stuff, I can pretty reliably 100% blast it out with any pug, and it's no big deal. Sunqua, Lonely Tower, and Silent Surf, if I'm with people I don't know, it feels like there's a chance of failure here. And it's like, do I want to deal with that today?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it might end up being a pretty easy challenge mouse. But yeah, we'll just have to see, I guess. It's coming out in 2.5 weeks, I think, with the next balance patch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Noxxi actually helped me with the figuring out the mechanics, because I did it once and I was trying to figure out all the stuff for a future get to the point guide for that one, and then Noxxi sent me this like freaking portfolio that they had made with all of the this is explosion in the air, stick your head down, this is explosion on the ground, jump in there, and I'm like, oh, got it, okay, and it all clicked.
I think the fractal is a very good spot in terms of difficulty, because I feel like if someone like, groups who know what to do, they will breeze through. But people who might be just new to the game, or just new to fractals, I don't know how different it is on lower tier fractals to do them, because they usually have less mechanics going on. But I think it's still in the spot where newer people to fractals could struggle a little bit with it, but not just outright being punished by just being insta killed by a mechanic, but they could struggle a little bit on it to a little bit learn, I guess.
Honestly, I don't know either. I would hope that if on tier 1 of that fractal, I would hope it's the exact same, just lower damage.
Yeah. I think that there's actually a champion that only spawns on tier 4. Like the champion that you fight sort of in the middle.
The Goliath.
I think that champion only spawns in tier 4. Is what someone in chat told me. I haven't actually tried it.
That's good to know.
We were I did the fractal, and then we pulled up my stream and rewound it, and we were like analyzing the footage to look for every ability, like at 70% he does this, and etc. etc. That Goliath, we were watching him like a hawk because I wanted to write down every skill he did, and he was like bonk. He had like a baseball bat, right? And he's like bonk, 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 bonk. Thinking about bonk, bonk, and I'm like, is this his only move? I legitimately think his only attack is bonk. He just keeps chasing people around and hitting them with an ice bat, but it does damage. I had to heal people, but it was kind of funny because I was just like, I was watching this guy like a hawk for his entire health bar, and I'm like, he doesn't do anything else. He just bonks. He just lives to bonk. That's it.
I think the way I see it is, I think my absolute favorite fractal is Nightmare. I really like Nightmare Challenge mode, where you go from like boss to boss to boss. I don't think this is quite that, right? But it feels a lot like something like Volcanic or Chaos. And it's been a long time since we had those, so it was fun getting to experience a new fractal like that, because it's been a while. So yeah, I enjoyed it. 8 out of 10, I think.
There's actually one thing I'm a little bit confused about. Is this story-wise before or after they get to Lowland Shore? I mean,
Oh, way after, I think, right?
Oh, it's after.
Because I think it takes place during Guild Wars 2. I might be wrong about that, but there's like one specific voice line from Jormak, where Jormak talks about grieving
their brother,
like a brother, which I think is Zaitan. So my sort of understanding is that like this fractal takes place
pick
like
up on that. That's nice.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if that's how. It was just like a brother. It wasn't like, oh, all my brothers, right? So it's like, I think it's like right after Zaitan was killed, but maybe before Mortemolf was killed.
Yeah,
or
it
something.
could be like that.
I'm so used to when Jormag yells, brother, that it was Primordius. And for the life of me, I forgot the other dragons were brother too. It's just Primordius is the twin brother. And so when she's like, I grieve for my brother, my first thought was like, okay, well, obviously if Jormag's alive, Primordius is alive. So maybe she's like grieving for his intelligence. She's like, oh, he's so stupid. He was basically dead to me. I thought it was like that. I thought she was just being a mean sibling. You know how y'all could be.
Yeah, because I'm sure Jormag would grieve Primordius, surely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know, shut up. But I didn't even remember at that point in time. I was like, oh yeah, Zaitan is a sibling too. I forgot. Yeah, that checks out. I like that. I like that theory. I'm sold on that one. I'll subscribe to that theory. So it's Kinfall is during Guild Wars 2, but after base game, at some point in time.
Yeah.
So between base game and the end of Iceberg Saga.
And it kind of checks out, right? Because the real life years kind of match up with the in-game calendar years, right? So Pokey being like a younger Lowlands Coden, having lost his mom like a couple years ago, kind of checks out with this fractal occurring a couple years ago. So sometime after base game, sometime before Iceberg Saga, somewhere around there is the way I interpreted it, at least.
One funny
And
thing
I
I
thought it
had
was cool.
happen in that fractal is, when you're playing the role of the bear and the bears are yelling at the voice bubble is above your head, the player's head.
Yeah.
And one of the players in my group, their bear was like, you shut up. And then the player was like, what was that? And then the bear was like, you keep her name out of your mouth. And the player was like, what's happening? And so it was just like, I was watching someone with like multiple personality disorder screaming at themselves through like half of the fractal. And I was cracking up.
My character is being hacked right now. Somebody's typing in my chat.
Call the police. Let's see. The obnoxious creature. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I've got some people dancing in the background. They want attention.
They always
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. So yeah, so I think overall, I liked the patch. It wasn't my favorite thing ever. I liked the quality of life features. I liked some bits of the story. I definitely felt like some were lacking. I think overall, Janthier Wilds, I got more enjoyment out of it after you two explained some crap to me, which I think is an unfortunate bit of storytelling that could have been improved upon. I'm saying this as constructively as I can. To give some examples, you guys both told me a lot about what happened with the Mersot and the Seers. This whole thing, like now after this conversation, I'm not gonna be like, oh, Gorsevold, it makes no sense that he's here. They were just like, oh, we're out of budget, just take this boss, put him here. Like that's what it was to me until we talked about the souls and the Titans. I didn't know before this talk that how the Titans were made. I learned more about that. I learned they were from the Foundry. But that's it. I thought the Foundry was just like, oh, just 3D print these things. Let's go. It was just like Earth Elementals. Just here we go. And now I know like, oh, there's more to it than that. So again, I learned that not from the game, but from this conversation, which I think they could have done a better thing with. One thing that I was talking with my community about recently, the old cinematics that they used to do. As an example, do you both remember in Living World Season 4 when Aurene looked into the future to see, could I beat... is it Stardagitus, I think? She's like, could I beat Krakator doing this? Nope, dead. Could I beat doing this? Nope, dead. And it was this amazing cutscene with killer music.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't imagine the budget for it was that extreme because it was mostly still images, flashing lights, and special effects. It wasn't like a fully rendered, people moving around and stuff like that. It was an amazing cutscene. I think that for me, the story would have made more sense if while we were in like Mistburn Barrens, and we were learning from Mabon's spirit about what happened with the Seers and the Mersot, if we had some of those. Like, imagine one in that valley that was full of spectral agony that I did not understand. Imagine if there had been a flashback that Mabon gives you where you see, like, a bunch of people screaming, maybe that was it who unleashed it? It was one of the Mersot, right? And then maybe she's got like her arm extended and then like red wave coming out and killing them. You're like, oh my god, like a genocide happened here. But I didn't know that until I went to Loranity, and then she told me more about what was going on. So I think this expansion in a few spots, like a little would have gone a long way. Now, I understand that they've got some little lore books that are hidden in a corner underneath a bush that you can see on a full moon on leap year. But, for the rest of us, I think a couple of little cutscenes like that would have done a lot of mileage.
Yeah, I totally agree. For me, that wasn't too much of a problem because, like, I'm going over every single little lore book and like piecing it together and stuff. But yeah, like I mean, I also had some moments where like I sort of misinterpreted things that were happening as well. It was pretty easy to sort of like, because a lot of the story was sort of pieced together. It was easy to piece it together incorrectly or in like the wrong order or something like that, right? I saw a bunch of people on Reddit being like, "Can someone just explain what just happened?" And then people commenting and sort of like breaking it down. I think I feel very similarly about the patch compared as you. I think I enjoyed the patch. I think there was some really awesome stuff in the patch. I think if this was sort of a regular patch, I think it would have been one where I was like, yeah, this was a really awesome patch. I think that some of the more negative response is also because it was the finale, right? It's like it was like the final patch of Janthier Wilds, and So again, I think it was a high quality patch, but I think that again, sort of coming back to it, I think that there were people wanted, I think, a bit more of some spectacle at the end, maybe like a big cutscene or like, for example, the meta event, the big boss at the end, right? So yeah, that's sort of how I feel about it. High quality patch, but sort of similar to you, a little bit would have gone a long way. Even if it was just a tiny little cutscene or a tiny little piece of art or a epic voice tease or something. Or maybe like again the meta tweaking it a bit so that the boss is at the end. Tiny things would have like I think like elevated the experience a decent amount. But yeah, I still had a pretty fantastic time with it.
And you, Noxxi?
I mean, to be fair, going back on the slightly previous story, I think the most brutal part of the story was when you learn how they, ended the Seers by luring them into the valley,
Yeah.
and then just effectively, doing that to them. That was like super dark to me. That was like, like that holy. I was like, okay, that's something for sure. To be fair, like overall, if I may talk about it, like overall, the story from start to finish, my main critique is that kind of like a two thing. One, I'm really disliking, but it's still better than it was in Soto. This very fill the green bar thing. Like instead of getting story, it's like, oh, go fill that green bar, do that event. It's like telling me, which I will already do. Don't tell me to do that. I get it. I will do that on my own because I want to. But yeah, that like, I wish they would just fill it with actual meaningful story instead of just like a filler of like, yeah, go fill that green bar. The second thing is, well, I kind of forgot. But no, it's the sort of pacing between the updates. Not like I have no problem that there is we have a good chunk at the start, and then there is like a few chapters each update, because overall for the entire expansion you get as much or even more chapters than like previous big expansions. That's like basically the same. There's no change. However, what I notice a little bit is that for every update, they have like a theme going on. It's like they, instead of sort of continuing exactly like like having a very nice flow, it's like they make the first like let's say 12 chapters because they know that that's where it will end for the first release of the expansion, and then each update has its like own wrapped up little part, and I can feel this like weird stop in between, not because it's being delayed by like 3 months, but because even if you replay, it has this weird little like halt in it. It just suddenly a little bit different.
You're
Instead of
saying
having
it
a
doesn't
very
flow
nice
together
flow.
well?
Right? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you got episode 1 and there's a start and a middle and an end, and then there's episode 2 start, middle, end, right?
It's like almost feels like as if they would make the first, let's say, 12 chapter, because I think there was 12 chapter first, and then they like, okay, that's where it ended, and they like ask themselves, okay, where should be the next 3 chapter go? Like they don't have an idea at the start of where it will end. They like do the first for release, and then they stop there, and they're like, okay, how could we continue this? So you can. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying that it feels like that, sort of,
Right.
because it kind of breaks the flow between.
I kind of, after hearing that feedback, the first thing I think of is the biggest example I can think of in the game where they wrote a story and then they just kind of made a cut right here. Like, it was very clearly, like, if you play it later, it's fine. But if you hit that, like, on launch day, it was like people were screaming, was when the thing with Aurene in Living World Season 4.
Yeah.
And then there was a big cliffhanger. And then afterward, all right, do you both know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yes.
the people that were playing it when that was the only thing out, it was like, oh my god, what's happening? For like months on end until the next update came out. But the people that played it later, it's like, oh no. And then they start the next chapter and they're like, whew. So it was very much something that was, maybe they got a lot of complaints. Maybe they felt like people hated that. And I wonder if
the adults
maybe
and Muck
they
are talking.
are trying to not fall into that again. I'm not sure. But it's a thought that I have, that I wonder if they are considering feedback like that and then they're trying to avoid that.
Be curious what it would be like to play the whole thing in one go. Because I kind of didn't, right? Like, I played it very much as it came out, as I think you two did as well. I'd be curious what it would feel like if you sort of, like, buy the expansion and you just play all the patches in a row, like this, right? I'd be curious how that would feel pacing-wise. I don't really know.
Do you mean specifically Janther?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, so, I very much, like, played each episode, and then I waited 3 months, and then I played an episode, and then I waited 3 months, right? But I'd be curious what it feels like if you were to buy it now and play everything in one go. I'd be curious what that pacing feels like. Because I don't really know. Didn't really experience that.
Yeah. Let's try to think. General question. Let's say you had to give Soto just an overall number grade, like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, something like that. And then you gave a number to Janther. Like, for overall, like the whole expansion, if you just had to say, I think Janther was a little bit better or a little bit worse or whatever, how do you think that you would compare the Janther to Soto, just as like a full package, like after doing all the things?
That's a good question. Part of me isn't really sure if I changed my mind, right? I feel like sometimes my opinion changes from day to day. But maybe I put Soda like a 7.5. There's a lot of stuff in Soda that I like. Specifically, I really liked Sarah's challenge mode. And then also the legendary mode, I got a lot of mileage out of that. But I wasn't super into the sort of the Nios story, the Nios map, the Nios patches. I like the base story a lot though. So I think in the end for me, Soda's probably 7.5. Some high highlights, but also some parts I didn't like. I think for me, Gentry Waltz is more like an 8.5 or 9. So
Oh, wow.
significantly more enjoyable. And that's also because it added a lot of the features that I like. So it added homesteads, which for me is
That was my
something that
first
I'm
thought.
still
She's gonna say
engaging with.
homesteads.
Yeah, homesteads for me was really like that sort of killer feature. It added the land spears, which I've enjoyed a lot more than the soda weapons. There were some good soda weapons that they added in those patches, but like the spears, I'm constantly playing them on like almost every class. It added the return of raids. I really like raids, so like that was really cool to like go back to that. I liked going to Janfair. I love Lowland Shore, which is like my favorite map in the game. So even though it's not a perfect expansion, right? I can sit here and talk for hours about how I think that the finale should have been slightly different and should have had more of a finale feeling to it. But I still really enjoyed the overall package. And for me, I enjoyed these patches more than I enjoyed the Soto patches, I think. So I'd rate it quite highly. Again, despite my criticism of the finale not having that epic finale feeling, yeah, still for me it was a very good experience.
Okay, yeah, like I think all of us, if we sat down, and wrote it out. We're all sitting. Let's be honest. If we would all have some things that are very positive and some things that are negative to say about any expansion. Noxxi, what do you think about the Soto versus Janthier question?
If I could rate as well Soto a little bit, I would go 2 ways. If you want the legendary armor and work on the legendary armor from Soto, I would say it gets more enjoyable. I would give it like maybe a 5.5 out of 10, just because there are some weird things in it. If you don't do the legendary, I will be real, there is no reason for me to play Soto at all. It's like it was just made for the legendary armor, except for the strikes, of course. But apart from that, there is literally no reason to go back there. For me, at least. I don't find anything. No loot, nothing that I need for anything else. And it's kind of weird. Janthier definitely improved a lot in many ways. Storytelling too, a little bit. Being a bit more consistent, at least. I would say somewhere around like maybe an 8 out of 10 for Janthier.
Wow,
Obviously,
5.5 versus 8.
Yeah, I mean, 5.5 would be with legendary armor. If you don't do legendary armor in Soto, I would say brutally say 3 out of 10.
Oh my god, that Legi armor is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, because it gives you a reason to be there and cycle through the content in Soto. In Janthier, I would say 8 or say 8 because I did enjoy it way more. It has its own flaws. I like the story. I do have criticism for that too, but I don't know, it's a bit more put together to me. And I like the metas. Well, the so-called meta. Well, there's actually technically one meta only, which is the last map, but I like the other things. It's kind of enjoyable.
That's a
And
big jump for sure.
and I will also say that rift hunting in Gentrywise is way more enjoyable.
Oh.
I haven't spent much time doing that, so I would say, from if I try to answer the same question that I made you guys answer, Soto, like, okay, you like the homesteads, that's like your big thing, Lorenity. For me, I love buildcraft. I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but that's what gives me a lot of joy. I have a lot of fun doing that. The expanded weapon proficiencies and the weapon master specialization, oh my god, I have gotten so much mileage. Like, I've gotten as much mileage out of that as probably you have with the spears. Like, I just, on all my characters, I'm probably using something that came from one of those two. And so, like, those were massive features for me. I think for new players, an easier way of getting the sky scale was a huge thing. Whereas, like, a day of grinding versus a week or more of grinding, like that's a pretty major thing as well. I love the strike missions in Soto. Raids are cool. I would say I personally probably like strikes more because when I'm in the mood, I can just go with anybody. Raids usually need a little bit more coordination, and like Saris, I think was an exceptional one. He's a great character. I wish they hadn't killed him off so fast. He's a lot of fun. He's got he's got aura. He's great. The CM, I had the privilege of doing the CM for that once with a group. They invited me back, but I was like, no, untied, undefeated. I'm retiring after that. That was something. I haven't even looked at LCM, but he was great. And for me, the only major down point for Soto was the story. This is not a Soto review conversation, so I won't go into it too much. But that is what I felt was the weakest part. Janthier, it had good features as well. There was the homestead, there was the spears. For me, though, those did less for me than the stuff I listed for Soto. There was raids, but I like strikes more. There was the spears, but more of my characters are currently enjoying expanded weapon and weapon master training stuff than the spear stuff. So that's just luck of the draw with the builds that I enjoy playing. And then I will say I do absolutely love the map metas, all of them, in Janthier more than the Soto ones. The Soto ones made heavy use of encouraging people to be on their sky scale and spam fireball. And it was just like a million multicolored beating wings were in my face all the time. And it was just like people were throwing Skittles in my eyes. I hated it. It was laggy. And I was glad to get away from that. Plus the fact that in Interneos, they had like that depression fog all over the place. That was also great for my video card. So Janthier, Lowland Shore especially, like, it was beautiful. It was a literal breath of fresh air going there and seeing what was, that place after Interneos. And then even in like the metas that came after that with Janthier Century and Mistburn and Bavanisos, I really like that, they encourage you to get off the sky scale and get on your feet and fight stuff. Also, I really like what they tried to do with Mistburn, where it's just basically like meta, and it's kind of like Silver Waste. You can go there, you can go for as long as you want, and then you can get out any time. You can hop on or off that train. So I think meta-wise, I think they did a much more improved job in Janthier Wilds than they did in Soto. So overall grade, man, I don't know. For me, I think I might say that like Soto is like a 7.5, and the reason it's not a 10 is because story. And then for Janthier, probably a 7. Still really good. I still really enjoyed it, but there was other stuff, like, again, story and some other stuff that I felt was like a little bit lacking. But overall, I don't regret all the time I put into either one of them. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I got.
It's interesting seeing, like, I guess, like, how different types of players sort of vibe with these different things differently, right? Depending on like what sort of content you play in the game, and how you do a kind of the opposite way around in that sense. It's cool. But yeah, you all like, I guess, like, use good arguments, so it totally makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 'cause I didn't even remember the obsidian armor. Yeah, I made one piece of obsidian armor to make the guide. That's it. I didn't even need it. I already had it. And I don't really do rift hunting, but I still like doing strikes a lot, which includes the Soto ones and the weapon stuff that I already said, like buildcraft and stuff like that. So it's like I still feel the effects of Soto with all the character builds I play every single day. And then like anytime I'm in the mood of doing strikes and stuff like that. But yeah, you're exactly right. And Noxxi and I definitely got different mileage out of the two.
There's also one thing, if I mention, sorry for interrupting, just one thing. I love the books, this like side lore. I want more of that. I'm just asking if any dev or story dev ever would hear this, please just don't put super crucial explaining things in them, because they do that so much in this expansion. But I still love the books because they have so much cool hints in them and so much cool stuff in them, like background stuff. But I'm kind of sad that a lot of players miss it or just don't care, and everyone's like, "Why is this there? Why is it here? Why is this here? Why is this happening?" And they're like, "Well, it's in the books," and like, "I don't read those." I'm like, "Well, okay."
Yeah, like I
like
read the
those
books
free
I
white
found.
mantles.
Go ahead.
Right, like those free white mantle, right? And then it's the big sort of twist with the Titans. Like you mostly get to know those through the books. Like if you're not reading the books, you're like, "Oh, are these free?" If you read the books, then you're like, "Oh, I've been reading about these guys for like a year," and that's really cool. But if you didn't, you're kind of like, "Oh, where did these free people come from?" Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but those I'll say, like I always do the optional objectives when I do the quests. But like for example, during this talk tonight, you guys mentioned some people that you fought at Augury Rock in Guild Wars 1. I didn't pick up on that because I don't remember that. I might have done it. I'm not even sure. During the Return to Guild Wars 1 playthrough, if I just played through the story, did I hit that? Or was that an optional thing?
So.
No, that was the doppelganger, you mean?
Okay, so I remember I went to the doppelganger and I was playing a ranger with a pet and he was a ranger without a pet and I was just like pink because I overwhelmed him because I had a pet and he didn't, and then that was it. I was just like, oh wow, this guy got a lot stronger in Guild Wars 2, and that was it. And then I left. I didn't remember any 4 people with names or anything like that. So I completely overlooked that. So yeah, the crucial information being upfront, I 100% agree. Like even I try to read the books, but I'm just stupid some days, so I totally miss out on some things, but not for lack of trying. And then, as you said, there are many other players that just click them and move on. I do that in some other games where I care less about the lore and I just enjoy the gameplay. I don't read the books and stuff like that, depending on what I'm playing. In this game, I try to, and I still miss some stuff. So I do agree that crucial information should maybe be in a cutscene or in a conversation that has voice acting, something like that, where it's and also earlier in the XPAC. Okay. Well, I've definitely picked your brains on everything that I had written down. Do you guys have anything else that you want to throw out there?
No, I think we kind of covered everything, honestly.
I would just say one thing personally, that nobody ever gets happy everywhere. By the way, if you just read Reddit for a moment, I love it, just as like a complete side mention because of the new meta. Just wanted to mention that when Dragon's End, the meta came out, and everyone was whining that it's very long, it's hard. Don't take it out of context. And now,
someone clip that. That'll be a new Patreon sound.
Now for this meta, it takes like, what, 20, 25 minutes? It's pretty straightforward. It's kind of easy. I mean, if you can CC. And now people whining about how nothing and very short it is. And I'm like, so it was problem when it was long, and now it's problem when it's very short. Don't take it out of context, please, again. But yeah, it's just...
You can't please everybody all the time. All you can do is try to please most of the people most of the time. I don't remember who said that, but I'm stealing it. I will say, I complained about Dragon's End, but that was after I joined 16 failed maps of it, and I was like, I just want my freaking turtle so I can leave. So, that was a whole different conversation at that time. But yeah, you're never going to please everyone is absolutely true. Also, I don't encourage you reading the Reddit. It's, what is it? A hive of scum and villainy.
I think it's similar with the fractal, actually, right? Like, when we had a lot of these like really hard boss fractals, there were people like, I want the old fractals, and now we get a fractal like the old fractal. Now there's some people going like, no, I want a boss fractal. It's just different people like different things. So no matter what, I do think that's always, again, you can't please everyone, just like you said.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Guilty 2 players out there, so lots of opinions. Kind of makes sense.
And honestly, I'm a firm believer that the majority is silent. The majority are not complaining on Reddit. They're not even writing on forums. And I try to encourage people. Like when I do my little patch note videos, I'll be like, they've got this forum post. I'll link it down below. If there's something you really don't want them, like if you don't want them to nerf Spectral Grasp, you better go here and whine. This is your only chance. Yeah, stuff like that. Because I know that most people, self-included, on most games I play, I don't go and complain on their forums. If they nerf something, I'll just boot up another game if I really don't like what they did. It depends on the level of attachment you have. But yeah, it's I hope that Guild Wars ArenaNet as a company, I'm pretty sure they will, but I hope that they are experienced enough to understand, like, to kind of let that wash over them. That there's always going to be some people that complain that you're not going to please everyone, and hopefully that doesn't hit anybody too hard, because it's certainly not the same. But like we as content creators deal with the same thing, If we make a video and 99 people say something nice in the comment section and then one person says something vile, you have to kind of learn how to tune out the vile ones, or just shadow ban them or something if it's really bad. Yeah, I get it. I
mean, to be fair, that is, typically this thing that I don't like either with people, that when they doom and gloom about the game or like the story, and it's like you can read into it what they say and just realize it's like they just saying that, oh, the story is bad because it's not the way I like or want the story to be. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, right. I mean, again, different people like different things, I guess, right? Makes sense. I think it is good to offer your feedback, though. But, it's always also, I think, important to also be be respectful, right? Like offer your feedback, but at the same time, some people, I think, on the internet sometimes take it a bit too far.
Definitely.
It's good to like share your thoughts, because I do think that feedback is important when it comes to things like this. But yeah, also try to be respectful as well. Don't get too into it. Like when people, sometimes people get too heated up and then they go type and like it's too intense. Passion is good, but keep it comfy, I think.
Okay. I like that. We've got the fortune cookie advice at the very end there. I think that's a great way to end the meal. Thank you both for joining me. This was a lot of fun. I thought about having 4 people on this, but because I was like, just in case there's technical difficulties, maybe we start with 3 and then maybe do 4 next time. And lo and behold, I broke everything. So probably good that we did that. But appreciate you both lending me your time, and maybe after the next expansion comes out, we can do this again if you're willing.
I'm up for it.
All right.
Yeah, this was fun. I enjoyed this.
All right, I'll end the call here, and till next time.
All right, thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.